Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politics on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chuck Knox on the Water Boy. It's back to our series on raising kids. What's it called? What's our series?
We haven't done it in so long.
It's been a month and a half or something since we were last able to. So the first couple shows in this series, podcasts in this series, we were focusing on more kind of like what you would call the benevolent dictator phase, kind of that 1 to 7.
What God would call.
The
benevolent dictatorship.
A benevolent kingship.
Yeah, that's right.
Monarch.
Yeah.
Benevolent monarch.
Benevolent patriarchy.
We definitely believe in the monarchy from ages 0 to 7.
That's good.
Yes.
That's right. So,
Constitutional one.
you know, kind of the younger years, laying the foundation. You got to have good concrete, good foundation for the kids. And today we want to talk
politics of good genes. Sorry.
I saw you guys do that. That was a pretty
Our
funny.
producers just told us 5 years. Why you have 5 years to raise your kids?
That
was the first part of the series.
Why you have 5 years to raise your kids.
Why you have even fewer years to raise your junior high kids.
Your junior high kids. So the politics of junior high.
Yeah, you're done.
It's this is the next
Why
phase.
you have 6 months to raise your teenagers.
And they're done. Yeah, and this, you know, kind of look, this phase is kind of that junior high-ish phase, that kind of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-ish kind of phase.
I think people know the years.
Yeah.
I think they do.
Well, I'm adding 14 in there. I'm including 14, which people would say wouldn't be junior high.
Some people do.
And everything. Well, if you were me, you did it twice, so, you know.
That's why he's putting 14.
I'm just kidding.
Is that why this is a little bit like tender for you? You're like, and even 14 is junior high.
This is the time, though. Like this is this is the time where you do start getting your report cards back of what you've done in the previous years,
Yes,
right?
you do.
Like, so you realize in this point, like, oh, we have some corrections. Let me go back to the drawing board and see what these blueprints say I didn't do right.
Not just some corrections, but some repentance. This is where you see, maybe me as a parent, I need to repent of this, because you kind of see it in your kids.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really important to do that first. So when we're talking about raising kids, disciplining kids, teaching them, correcting them, Jesus says before you try to take the speck out of your brother's eye, you've got to remove the log from your own eye.
Yeah.
And that applies to you correcting your kids. That means check yourself first. And you just said it well, Knox, but that is like, you know, how your kids are doing really is generally a report card.
Yep.
Because I mean, who is training them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You are
us. You.
And so I mean you can have sins of commission. You've sinned against them in some way, shape, or form, or you can have sins of omission. You realize you didn't teach them.
Yeah.
Like one time,
You gonna bust me out?
I'm gonna bust myself.
Oh, okay. I was like, don't bust me. I got plenty.
No, one time. I mean, this is kind of a thing. We're driving in the car and somebody mentions Aslan, and from the back seat, my youngest son Zeke says, "Who's Aslan?" My goodness,
this was last year.
My heart just like stopped. It wasn't last year, but it was like
just kidding.
It was a lot later than it should have been, and we're like, oh,
yeah.
And I almost died right there. I almost had a heart attack right there, and like, oh my goodness. I mean, it's like that's like one step down from who's Jesus, you know? Like he's like Jesus and then Aslan.
Right.
It's like what is
this? I just want everybody to just take notice just how sanctified our pastors are here in Moscow. If you think that's a bad thing.
Anyways,
so the first phase is kind of benevolent dictatorship phase. This phase is kind of getting into more of the disciplpleship side.
No, it's all discipleship.
It's all discipleship, but like really hands-on kind of discipleship.
It's all hands-on.
Yeah, but like really hands-on.
I don't know what you think changing diapers is.
Is
that not hands-on?
Yeah, it's
spanking bottoms.
Yeah, are you done? Discipleship.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean it's all there. It just changes shape.
Yeah,
it's just changing shape because they're bigger. And,
and they're more capable.
Yeah, now they're. I mean, oftentimes they're as big as you now.
Yeah.
Their vocabulary is, about as big as yours.
Well, better than mine. I mean, they're going to Logos. They know Latin more than me.
Some of them are smarter than you now.
Yes, they are.
And you're still responsible for them.
That's right.
So it's changing. It's morphing. And now rather than it being aimed in again that sort of you're running things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've used the illustration before of the teaching them to ride the bike. You're now rather than holding them and doing everything for them, you're now starting to let them pedal. You're holding on maybe to the back seat. Yeah. And one hand on the handlebar.
Letting it go.
Yeah. But they're doing more for themselves, which means they're doing it well, or you're realizing they still don't know how to pedal, or they're, they don't have balance. And so you're having to help correct that.
And this is probably also the stage where parents really start to get fearful about their kids.
Yeah.
I remember when I was traveling for my previous job, and my kids were like 8 and 6. My daughters particularly were 8 and 6, and my son was 4 at the time. I remember traveling and saying, "Oh man, here's pictures. All these, the old ladies and that at the conferences I'd be at, they'd ask for pictures of my kids."
A lot of old ladies at our
of
conferences, by the way.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about MC when I was going to these education conferences.
It just sounds like
I'll be clear.
All these old
this
ladies.
had nothing to do with our Fight Laugh Feast conference.
Hey, old ladies are totally welcome.
Yeah, 100%.
Just for the record.
I was just at these. My previous life, I'd go to all these pagan, education conferences
Full of old ladies.
and they always love. And seriously, they'd
Why
always
does that
love.
get Pastor Toby busted up over? That's hilarious.
They'd ask for pictures of my kids, and it'd be 8 and they were 8 and 6 and all that stuff. And they'd always say, "Oh, so cute, such a great phase. Just wait until they turn 13."
Yeah,
it's like this is where you start to get the warnings from the older generation, because their kids apparently were horrible at age 13, 14, whatever, 15, 16. And so a lot of fear starts creeping in, and a lot of, and of course for us, it's like, well, if you didn't lay a good foundation for your kids, of course things are going to get worse.
right.
Wait until they turn 17.
Right.
Then they can, your son can really beat you up.
Yeah. Wait till they can buy a gun.
Yeah, exactly. Get a car,
Yeah.
right? And so, I just kind of think of like this stage that I'm in, because my kids are 15, 13, and 11 now. And
Are you scared?
Not at all. I'm very much enjoying it now. My prayers are different now. Than when they're younger.
They've matured a lot, huh?
My prayers have matured a lot. My prayers are for my kids to show good fruit. My prayers are for me and Annie not to take our eye off the ball, to continue to give ourselves to them, because this is also a phase where it's easy for parents to kind of step back a little bit when they shouldn't.
Right.
It's like they're capable. They can get their own lunch, or they can make their own breakfast. They can get ready for school. They can, lives almost to the point where she can drive my kids to school.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so it's real easy for a parent to.
I think it's also
step back.
Yeah, I know you're right, and I think it's also easy for parents to sometimes be offended.
What do you mean by that?
By their middle school kids, their junior high kids,
because they're getting accomplished and being successful, or
no, I think just because they're awkward.
Oh yeah, very much.
It's like they can say things. They've got words, they got a vocabulary, and they're starting to use it.
They start telling you wax philosophical.
Sometimes they'll do that. Yeah, you
I've
gotta
heard
be
that.
careful.
No, the kids got their own ebonics in school now. Their own words that they say.
Right. That's really sus.
Have you?
That's really sus.
Yeah, it's really sus. All this stuff.
Yeah.
My daughter comes home and she's like teaching me all these new words. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I get made fun of too by my kids. But But the thing I'm saying is like they're big enough and almost like adult-ish,
right,
that you can begin to have expectations for them.
Yeah.
And then they will routinely maybe not meet those expectations.
Yeah.
It can also be easy for parents to start to make fun of their kids.
Yep.
In a harsh way.
Yep.
You think that, like that's, it's like, that's not kind. It can be really crushing.
Yeah.
You can create an adversarial relationship with them because they're now old enough and they can talk back to you and you can talk back to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the question,
in full sentences.
Yeah, right, totally. And they're smart enough to we saw this in the classical Christian education paradigm. We refer to this as the PERT stage or the logic stage,
right.
Where they're beginning to learn how to argue.
Right.
They care about why.
Yep.
And when they're 5 and 6. The answer is just, well, because God says, because I said, and yes sir, yes ma'am.
Very simple. Move on.
And they really do need to move on. But as they get to that age and they're beginning to say, but why? You really do. There needs to be a place, not every time they ask, but they need to know that you want them to know why.
Yeah.
And you want to teach them how to argue well and know when to argue, which is not
and
always.
disciple them in that logic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's easy for that because they're bigger. They seem a little bit adultish.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Yeah.
And they're smarter. And then but they're not yet adults. They're not yet mature. And so there can be ways. And then they're trying to be adults. They're trying to be responsible, and they do it sometimes in really awkward ways. Yeah. Sometimes they really sin. Sometimes they really just make a mess of things or hash of things, or it's just really awkward or embarrassing. And they're going through puberty. and it's like physically kind of awkward, and they sometimes just, I mean, let's face it, middle school pictures. I mean, the school pictures are just kind of like, I mean, no offense, middle schoolers, love you all. But it's like,
we were all once
we
there.
were all there. And, and
I was goofy and awkward and lanky. And
I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, except for Knox. Everyone else, though, had like awkward. I mean, what was your awkward stage? You didn't have one? It was like in utero?
Maybe.
You just did
Maybe now is my
remember.
awkward stage. Now might be my...
DJ, what do you think?
Yeah.
Now? Is it
now?
But so you want to, like, you've got to understand this. I mean, part of this is remembering, like, okay, when you were in middle school and you can't remember. Like, I was like, I don't remember. I was so smart.
I don't remember on
you're
purpose.
You're like Knox, and you're like,
forgot that.
I was good looking. I was intelligent. I was so wise.
I didn't
was
need
smart.
braces.
I was ready to get married, and I I was 12. And
this is when he met Sharon.
You're not lying.
It's like I met Sharon when I was 12.
I literally was like trying to marry that girl at 14.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, but you need to remember that you weren't. You need to remember that you were not ready. You were not mature.
That's right.
You wanted to be.
Yep.
You were hungry for that respect.
Yep.
You were hungry for that.
Yep.
And so, but you know, in Psalm 103 it says, as a tender father, God has pity on his children, and he remembers our frame.
That's right.
That we are just dust.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Yeah.
God in his mercy knows that he looks down on us in all our stages of development and all our life, and he's merciful, compassionate. He knows where we actually are, and he doesn't demand more than is reasonable. We need to have that kind of compassion, that kind of tenderness with our middle schoolers, with our junior hires, and that means don't be drawn into an adversarial relationship with them. And sometimes you've got to protect men. You need to protect your wives from this, particularly if you've got middle school boys. Middle school boys, right around 9 or 10, many of them turn into little lawyers.
Oh yeah.
And you need to think that this is cool.
Yeah.
But it needs to be directed.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Channeled, directed.
It's awesome that they're suddenly like, but mom, like you said on Thursday, and they want to like stand on, and it's like, don't be offended by that, but don't be drawn into it. And sometimes it needs to be directed, and mom needs to be told, hey, when they've got an appeal, they want to do the lawyer, they say, hey, make an appointment with your dad. And maybe you and your son, the dad and son need, there's
hash it out.
Hash it out and do it in a good spirit, friendly, whatever, and do it well, direct it. Other times, maybe it's not worth that at all. I might have told this story before, but this was one of those things that this was totally just the Holy Spirit. I wasn't planning to do this.
It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ .06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.
One of the things that sometimes is a thing is moms want to make sure that their kids are eating healthy.
Yeah.
And so that can be kind of a thing because I don't know, maybe it's all kids, but boys in particular, no one middle school boys don't like vegetables. You just don't, it's like that's not what they're into.
Because they need a grill.
Right. Yeah.
They want fire.
They want meat and they want ice cream and they want root beer. Like that's what they want. And it's like pizza. It's like pizza, cheeseburgers, and root beer. Like that's
my steak had grains.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And it came from greens. Right. I understand. Some of us are still in middle school. Anyways, but I remember one time I just realized that was a thing that I saw was kind of developing between my son and my wife. And kind of out of the blue, I just decided, no, I don't want it to be a thing. And so I pulled my wife aside. I said, honey, you've done a wonderful job with our son. And we still got work to do, but he can eat whatever he wants to eat now. I don't know. He was probably about 12, 13.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I just said, I'm going to require him to be polite and honor you.
Right.
But I want you to just let it go now.
Yeah. Don't fuss about not eating the green beans.
Whatever he puts on his plate,
Yeah.
don't say a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You just respect him.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, okay, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And then I pulled my son aside and I said, look, son, from now on, you can eat what you want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And but you need to honor your mom. And
tell her thank you.
Yeah. And so, and I said, so, and don't make her life difficult.
Yeah.
And he took it. He totally did it. And he would do like thank you bites and to honor his mom. And he did it all on his own. No one was making it, but he'd take a bite or two of salad or green beans or whatever it was, and smile and and we all knew what he was doing and everything. But but looking back, it was such a gift actually, because there was this one. It was like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's like not worth it for there to be a point of tension over something that doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
And I wanted my son, my middle school son, and my wife to be friends.
Yeah.
I wanted them to have a good relationship, and I knew there would be things that she still needed to correct him on.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted those to be things that mattered.
Right.
And another phrase I ought to think about is pick your battles carefully.
Uh-huh.
Don't fight. Not everything's worth it. So some stuff you just need to let it go.
Yeah.
Like they're either they'll figure it out or whatever. Like
It's
God's
hands.
God is good, and it's
Yeah.
like so and depending on the thing. I mean, it depends on what you need to work on. It's going to be a different thing in different households. But sometimes it might maybe just you let the bedroom go.
Yeah.
I believe in
DJ, close your ears.
this is like PG-15.
Yeah.
But depending on the thing. I mean, maybe it's maybe it's not that. Maybe that needs to hold the line. But maybe maybe it's like, hey, look, I'm not gonna ask you about brushing your teeth. Like it's on you, and
Right.
and you're gonna pay for the cavities though, or whatever. It's like
Right.
there's
right.
things like that where it's like you can become a nag monster to your kids.
Yeah.
I think there's something else going on there too. Along with that, I think and listening to you're preserving the relationships so that joy is something that blooms out of the households, right? But there's also a point where what you're seeing happening is that this kid is at a place where he's maturing and he needs to take responsibility.
Right.
And he needs to take the responsibility of respecting his mom and being grateful because he's going to have a wife one day.
That's right.
Right. And also he's learning that I probably can help relieve some of the stress from mom by figuring out what I need to eat.
Yep.
Right. And then so he's learning to govern himself in a society that he's being governed.
Right.
And so those are very good lessons to learn. And sometimes what you're seeing in that friction is like, oh, he has moved to the next stage and we need to help coax that. How do we get that fire brewing so that he matures to this next level and we do it in a joyful way? Because sometimes these aren't really places we can make them a point of friction that becomes something that breaks the family down versus something to say, wow, I can't wait till I get there. And all the other kids are watching this too.
Right.
And so you're creating a trajectory of how the family grows and functions and how you start blessing someone to go the next direction.
Right.
Well, what Toby's doing there with Zeke is you're reframing.
But he didn't say this to talk about. Hold on, brother.
River. Let's say River.
No, man. Are you done?
Are you done?
I don't call it my kids.
That's the next lesson we're gonna talk about. Don't do what that.
That was my fault. But what you're doing is you're reframing the issue too in a way that it's growing immaturity. I bet your son after that also would happily take a couple beans and put it on his plate, like you said, to honor his mom.
Yeah.
Now, but it reframed everything, and he's still eating the beans. Maybe not as much, maybe just 2 or 3, whatever.
Yeah, right.
But it reframes the whole situation to where you're working on what needs to be worked on,
Right.
instead of bickering over.
Yeah. Right.
What should be on your plate.
That's right. That's and the thing is too is I'll just add to this, go beyond this, is think of you really do need. I think all our churches did this recently, but there's a vow that in our baptismal vows for our kids that for a long time wasn't in my script, and I forgot we didn't do it for a long time, and then somebody found it, was like, hey, we're supposed to be doing this, but it asks that do you promise from this day forward to consider your son or your daughter not only your biological son or daughter, but your brother or sister
In the Lord.
and a joint heir of eternal life or whatever, of the covenant. And And that idea, I mean, we're taking those vows with babies. Because we baptize them babies.
Go baptize your kids if you have children.
But for sure, you ought to be thinking about this, even more as you go along. Like, this is my brother.
Mm-hmm.
This is my sister. And I think sometimes that can, especially as they're getting into this pert stage, this logic stage, start asking yourself, if this 11-year-old boy or girl was my neighbor's 11-year-old boy or girl, how would I talk to them? How would I handle this immaturity that I see in them? How would I handle this weakness I see in them? Like, this laziness or this sloppiness or this apathy or this bad attitude. Now, I'm not saying it has to be exactly, but I think sometimes parents sin against their kids by treating their kids with real disrespect, with real dishonor. And then you wonder why they have such a bad attitude about you.
Yeah.
But like, so if I had, and so it's helpful, like, think for a second, like this other family that you're good friends with, and their 12-year-old, their 13-year-olds, and you see a weakness in them, and you had a moment, and they said, "Hey, would you talk to my son?" Mm-hmm. And you brought your son, that other boy in. How would you talk to that? My guess is that you would be so friendly and respectful and
discipleship
kind.
Oriented.
Yes,
in it.
Exactly.
Yep.
In a way that, like, sometimes you just snap at your own son or daughter,
Very
and you think,
much.
but like that's your brother, that's your sister. I mean, this is crucial for you to be thinking about. And again, a big part of this is they're gonna get a driver's license in 3 years. They're gonna, like, there's certain things, like, this is happening, and this is why we called the show this series. That, what is it, 5 years? You have 5 years to raise your kids or whatever. Yeah. The point is that these kids are launching, the cement is hardening, and you really have to be thinking in terms of, okay, what am I training? What are we practicing for? And what you want to fundamentally be practicing for is joy in the Lord.
Yeah, that's right.
Joyful obedience in the Lord, and that means
that's the big E on the eye chart. That's right.
And so you want to be thinking, like, yes, there's correction. Yes, there's training, all those things. But are you inculcating a friendship? Are you building trust? Or are you just Mr. Bossy Pants? Are you just critical? Are you critical? Because again, they're big enough to actually make a lot of messes. But it's like, it's easy to have a real critical spirit, and like, they're doing that wrong, they're doing that wrong, they're doing that wrong. And then it's like, oh, so like you're the accuser. Yeah. Like, oh, so you're like Satan? Does your daughter walk in and the first thing she hears is the things she did wrong? Forgot to do the dishes. Yep. Your room looks like a bomb went off. You call that a hairstyle? What were you thinking with that dress? And it's like, or are you the encourager? Are you the advocate? Are you Christ? Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad to see you. I think one of the things, I got this from Tim Bailey. He says, hug your kids, hug your teenagers. Yeah. Especially. Like he says, the more awkward they are, hug them more.
DJ loves when I do that.
Yeah. You're welcome, DJ. But it's like, show them even more affection than ever. Yep. Like, you're my son. I love you. And of course, boys also need to get punched a little bit and tickled, and that kind of thing, wrestled a little bit roughhouse. But they also need to have just a genuine, like, hey, man, I love you. Yeah. You're awesome. Yeah. Hold your daughter. If she's trying to pull away, hold her a little bit longer. Yep. Tell her, it's going to be okay, honey. It's going to be okay. I don't care what everyone else says about you. I love you. Yeah. Whatever, but have a sweet banter. Tell your daughters they're beautiful. Yeah. And you say, well, it's but it's an awkward state. Tell them they're beautiful. Yeah.
Talk about helping them in the awkward stage.
Yeah. Encourage them. Yeah. I mean, it's like, they're starting to wake up, and they're like, they're noticing. Yeah. And they're like, I'm a person, and I don't know what to do with my hair and my shoes, and and they kind of care but don't care and don't know how to care, and you like hold them and you say, I love you, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, like kind of the benevolent dictatorship stage is, maybe you aren't as explaining as much. You're explaining a lot, but let's say, a kid maybe challenges you on something. You just say, no, this is,
this is what we do.
This is what we do,
Because we're wrenches.
Yeah,
we're
wrenches, right. And so, but as you kind of get into this phase, it's like it maybe is helpful to give them logic, to help them understand how you're thinking about this and everything. And so, which makes me think of, there's all sorts of questions that start to pop up. One thing I'm thinking right now as you were talking is like, at what point do you start talking to your kids, have the birds and the bees talk, the sex talk with the kids, because this is at a point where they're also hitting puberty and they're hearing things, seeing things. They're getting older. They're going to the supermarket. Things are, the whole world's changing around them, largely just because they're noticing more, that kind of stuff. So, how do you start thinking about?
We talked about this, I think, in the other sessions, but remember, you want to have already set all the categories from when they were like
male,
3,
female,
like the categories of male, female, but also, I just encourage parents from early ages, use the language of the Bible.
Yeah, right.
You're supposed to read the Bible to your family.
So it's got all of it in there.
So it's all there, and it I don't. If the Bible's to be read to all of God's people, then there's nothing in there that's like God's like, but don't read Song of Songs to your 4-year-old.
Skip that book.
He doesn't say that. So you read it all. Now, don't read Song of Songs every night, but don't be weird.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say that part.
But it's like male, female.
Yeah.
It's
marriage.
Where do babies come from? Well, a man lays with a woman.
Yeah.
Right.
He has seed. She receives the seed. She grows a baby in her belly.
Yeah.
And you got to read through the Genesis, and you already got all that.
Right.
Adam knew his wife. She conceived. You've got prostitution. You've got adultery. He what does it mean, adultery? Well, he laid with someone that was not his wife.
Yeah.
She was not. And I just use the. So you should be using all that.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you get to
this isn't like a conversation that all of a sudden you're introducing now that they're 12 or 13
they're like,
years
wait a
old.
sec, I'm a boy.
What?
I think you have both of those going on, though. You have people who have understood that progress. So by the time you get there, they've almost put the whole thing together in one sense. And now what you're doing is just codifying it, right?
Yeah. And we also have farm animals.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, when you grow up on a farm or grow up in the country, this becomes just as normal as all get out, like in one sense.
But you got the whole cycle of life. I mean, you got life to, I had to put down my dog last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Cycle.
They're seeing the whole thing, and they're seeing kittens and puppies and the whole nine. Right. Another thing too is that don't be weird about this. And another thing, my mom was a registered nurse.
Yeah.
And so she just walked us through physical anatomy.
Yep.
And I think it was like 8 or 9 where I just put it all together, and she just walked through the whole process. She just wasn't weird about it. And she talked about it as a blessing. It was bringing us through Solomon, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
But this is really important to do, because by the time people misunderstand how much of a pornographic culture we're in, kids are getting this stuff at very young ages.
Right.
And they're being influenced by their friends around these topics at very young ages.
Right.
And so if you're not already communicating with your kids, somebody else is.
Right.
So by the time I was 9 and 10, we had just moved back to Minneapolis. It was amazing to me that the other kids around had these weird concepts of sex. And I was like, that's not how it happens at all.
You are the 10-year-old in the room, straightening all the other 10-year-olds out.
All of a sudden, all the guys are like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, actually, so a man, he loves a woman and gets married. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting here breaking it down to them, the whole process. And they're like, where'd you learn this? I'm like, from my mom. Like, where did you guys learn this? Well, from this guy over here, from Porn Magazine over there. Yeah, and it was weird because of that instruction at a young age, I wasn't able to be influenced by secular ideas.
Yeah. Right.
It protected me in more than one way, right? And my mom always would tell me, she's like, 9, 10, one day you're going to mature and become a much stronger man. And you're going to have all your own position. Your hormones are going to change. She's a nurse, so she's walking me through the physical processes of this. And she's like, and all these things are going to make you want to rebel because you're going to want to lead. She's like, and that's good. You should be able, you should want to lead. But you aren't there yet, so you're going to have to submit until you get the opportunity. She's like, and I'll do my best as I see you get in those areas, like you were talking about earlier, to release you to be able to do those things.
right.
And so you and me having this conversation would be really helpful.
Yep.
Right. And I was like, oh, and I'm like, Mom, I'm never going to want to backtalk you. I'm never going to, are you kidding me? And I remember.
I'm never going to want to challenge you, Mom.
I'm never going to want to challenge you. You know, when you're a kid, you're like, this is my mom. Why would I ever want to do this? And I remember hitting 14 and I wanted to go somewhere. She wouldn't let me go. And I remember like my attitude was immediately to reject that and start to fuss and to give her a problem. And I remember her saying, remember, you're going to be, I remember the conversation. And I don't think like it was a simple conversation she had one time with me. It stuck with me. And when the moment hit, I had a reckoning to be able to say, this is what she was talking about.
Yeah.
That's how proverbial wisdom works.
But notice that your mother also prepared you for that.
That's right.
That's one of the things that parents also need to try to do. And we talked about this a little bit, I think, with the young kids, because I think this happens a lot with even little kids. It's like, you know, you take them places they've never been before, and then you give them an instruction you've never practiced before. And then you're shocked when they don't want to do it or don't know how to do it. And you're like, you know, and you're upset and you're worked up. And you're like, but like what coach, you know, gets a bunch of, you know, 5-year-old soccer players and then just throws them out on the field at the first game and it's like, play soccer.
Yep, go.
But that's what a lot of parents do.
And then rebukes them when they don't do well.
And then it's like, that's it. You're all running laps. And it's
right.
like, I hate you, coach. But it's like,
which is our goal.
Yeah. Like, but it's like, but that doesn't really stop. It changes. But, you know, when the kids are little, you actually have to run the play. You actually got to practice it. Like, say, yes, ma'am. Ma'am. Okay, say it a little bit clearer than that. Yes, ma'am. You know, and you have to actually work it out. You work it out. Yeah. Stand up straight. Give me a handshake. Look me in the eyes. You know, all that kind of stuff. But as they get a little bit older, like, now you can explain it to them. But you can say, like, this is coming next. You know, some of your friends are going to want to watch stuff you're not supposed to watch. Some of your friends are going to say stuff that and you're not allowed to talk about it. You confront that. And they stop, or you are done being friends with them. You know, you got to start running those plays though with them and prepare them to win, prepare them to succeed. You are their coach, and you want to prepare them for the game. And that's what your mom did really well. So that when it happened in the game, she said, "Hey, remember we had this conversation in that huddle 3 years ago?"
I'll tell you something else too that was really. Part of my, we weren't Presbyterian at the time, but I remember as a kid, I wanted to love the God that my parents loved. Part of that was because I saw them operating with love in the world that I wanted to have. Not only that, but I saw them correct people when they were wrong about things. So I knew, okay, this is what it looks like to do that. And this is what it looks like to live that way. So when my friends, I was just modeling what I saw my parents do.
Yeah.
And so like part of it is like, there are times where it's like, you have to tell somebody, man, we actually don't talk like that.
Right.
That isn't how we roll. Like that's not our thing. And you're more than welcome to be here, but not like that. Right. And we've had to have those conversations with family. We've had to have those conversations with other people. Right. It's like, okay, so when they see you being bold in that manner, it already creates for them a standard of how they need to act amongst their friends around things that you've already discipled them into.
You know, also just you mentioned before, we live in a pornographic culture.
Yes.
They're being inculcated with things, you know, it's either you or the world. And just, you know, underline them. I think a lot of people that are watching and listening to this are probably already like concerned about this, but you really do want to hover over their friends, their entertainment, and their access to the internet. And I'd say, you know, I think sometimes Christians maybe are thinking about this in terms of like, okay, we got porn filters on the you know the internet,
accountable to you,
and you know we don't let them get on Netflix by themselves or YouTube by themselves and all this kind of, like there's certain things like this. But I also remember like the people you're around. Christians can sometimes let their guard down because that family goes to church with them.
Yes,
or because you're such good friends, and you should not do that. I've seen families get into trouble. Where you know the other, you know, you're such good friends with them and you think you share the same values, but then it turns out that like, you know, they've got a friend that introduced them to something, and now that kid is got something going on, and now and you are oblivious, and so they're, you know, and it's like we don't, like, our kids played right in our room with us. Like we did not send them off to other bedrooms. We did not like, it's like you don't get alone time. There's you know our family time. Like you use your bedroom to go to sleep in at night, and then you come back out again. You know, for many years, you want their community life to be right with you.
Yeah.
Even when and I know it's like sometimes you want to have adult conversation time, and it's like no, but you're responsible for those kids, and you need to watch over them, and you need to be. I think parents need to be far more suspicious sometimes than they are, without being paranoid. But like at the same time, it's just like no, all the doors are open.
Yep.
We know where everyone is.
These my doors in this house.
Yes, right, and it's like because it just.
Yeah, and related to that is just like one of the things that we're starting to do. Our kids are getting older, and we're starting to do. And I want my house to be a place where my daughter's friends hang out.
Right.
So I get to know who her group is. And then at this phase, we've done this with we got friends at church that were just like, no, we don't want you to hang out with them anymore.
Yep.
This is we love these girls. These are great girls.
Not those.
Not those.
Yeah, we talked with our kids a lot about it's the Proverbs talk about choosing your friends carefully.
Yeah.
We are in fellowship with all of God's people, but we're not friends with them all.
Yeah.
And some people that sounds harsh. That sounds mean. No, we're not being mean. It just means that we don't hang with them. Like they're not our people. Like we're in fellowship with them, but
we're in our covenant community and all that stuff.
But my point. So that's absolutely true. There's certain people you say, nah, we just don't want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
You can say hi to them, be polite, but we're not hanging out with them. But then don't let your guard down, even with the kids that you think
That's right.
but they're good kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully they are good kids. Hopefully it is a good, but you don't get to then go on cruise control because I know their dad and their mom, and he's a deacon, and she's in the hospitality committee, and I know they're so concerned about the same things we are. Well, that's great, but don't let your guard down.
Yeah. There's a story about that in Genesis, I believe, right? Somewhere in the garden where everything was great.
Don't let your guard down.
Right. Two perfect people. Right. Perfect marriage.
Yeah.
Now, last thing here. So we're we're talking about this, roughly, 10 to 14 age phase. This is where, and this is just a question for me, really, on my kids. My expectations are starting to get higher for them, in the sense that, like, okay, you're more capable, so I'm starting to expect more out of you. I mean, this isn't really a very good example, but Cash every morning, his job is to go get the chicken eggs and to make sure the water's clean and make sure, that's just his job. I don't even tell him in the morning to do it. He just needs to do it, So he's 11. And then, my 15-year-old, so my expectations are, I feel like for each of them are starting to raise, and I think in a good way, but I guess, how should I be thinking as a parent, wanting my kids to be challenged, wanting my kids, but not maybe over expecting and putting them in positions of failure, that kind of conversation?
Yeah, you think about, I use this, use the analogy of the husband is to love his wife as his own body. And no man ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it just as Christ does the church.
Yeah.
And so if you think of, and then apply that to athletics. So in every sport, there is a head game, and there's
mental and physical.
Exactly. There's mental and physical, and it has to work together.
Yeah.
And the head has to lead the body, but the head has to listen to the body.
Yeah.
And if
you broke your leg.
Yeah, right, exactly. Your Achilles is blown. It's like, but your body will sometimes also say, this is really hard.
Yeah.
And you tell your body, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do. You can push through. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. And the best coaches, the best coaches were ones that like part of you was like, and then at the end you're like, I love you. Yeah. Right? Like, part of you is
you're my favorite coach ever.
You're so difficult. You're so mean. And then afterwards you're like, you're my favorite coach ever. They get the Olympians, they get on the stage and like, first of all, I want to thank my coach. I want to thank my trainer.
Yeah.
A good husband has to think like that. Leading your wife is pushing.
Yeah.
Probably a bit beyond what she thinks she can do. But in a way that at the end she says, thank you. Like I didn't that was hard. But that means you're responsible to know, like you're gonna get there. Yeah. But sometimes you get the feedback, like you broke your leg, your Achilles is blown, you're getting the flu. Yeah. It's like, don't run another mile, you're sick. Yeah. And you have to hear that. That's why so a husband has to dwell with his wife in an understanding way to know, like, are we going to win?
Yeah.
That's what a good coach knows.
Yeah. Or am I going to fail?
Or do I need to ease up?
Yeah.
I would take that and apply it to your kids.
That's good.
And I would say use the same kind of analogy and say, because you're the covenant head of your household, and so it's not exactly the same head body relationship, but it's an analogous one.
Yeah.
I would say you need to know the frames of your kids,
and each frame is different.
Each frame is different. The parents sometimes when kids go whack. When kids, rebel or something goes really dramatically wrong, sometimes parents will say, "I raised them all the same."
Yep.
And I would say that was your first mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's principles that apply universally,
Right.
but they're all different.
One kid might be stronger, one kid might be smarter, one kid might be
exactly different weaknesses, different strengths, different and so you need to, in the same way that you need to dwell with your wife in an understanding way, and obviously this goes the other way too. Wives just do this naturally; they dwell with their husbands in understanding.
They do.
Wives just are studying their husbands constantly, but it's true. Like they
100% true.
But wives do need to
forgive me, Annie.
wives do need to understand their husbands, but but there's an analogous way in which you need to understand your kids.
Yeah.
Dwell with them in an understanding way, and then as a good coach, a good trainer, you need to know, okay, this is where they're weak, this is where they're strong, this is where I should push, this is where I should challenge them, but you want to challenge them in a way that they can succeed. You want to challenge them in a way that they can succeed, where you have that joy. You have these moments where they see the fruit of their labor. So if it's all work and no play, if it's all work and no prize, if it's all push and no victory, then you're a taskmaster, you're a slave master, and there's no kindness there. But if you're apathetic and you're like just do whatever you want, well then you're not leading. You're not leading at all. And so I think you have both of those extremes. Sometimes you have parents that are just like, well, I just let them do what they want to do, like just make them go to church on Sunday and that's it or whatever. And okay, well that's being kind of apathetic. On the flip side, I think you have a lot of conservative Christians that can be really uptight and wound tight about a lot of rules and a lot of things and restrictions and all this stuff. And it's like, is this a happy place? Do they see the fruit of their labors? Or are you winning a lot of games, so to speak, or not?
I think this is a lot of, nobody talks about this a lot, but they should. This is the idea of husbandry. Like this is what you're doing.
Yes.
And it's funny because we really get this. If you take, you look at how they treat their businesses, they actually think about this category of business this way. There's a lot of books on husbandry.
Here are my resources.
Right.
Here's how hard I can pull and push.
Here's my people.
Yes.
This is what they work best at. This is what they function as. But you forget that the qualifications in this industry doesn't come from the industry. It comes from how you handle your home.
Yeah.
That is the model that you lay over top of everything else in your business, and it qualifies you from here. Yeah. And so a lot of times, and unfortunately, you have to retrofit that for people to understand how to function, because they're like, they do well here and they fall apart there. It's like, you do know this is going to fall apart up here too.
Right.
Because it's only proven how you operate. Right. But people work really hard at husbandry and economics and business, but then they don't know that this right here is everything. Right. This is where that is developed at. And actually, if you did the basic things that a husband is supposed to do for his family, for his wife, the husbandry of developing them actually gives you the skills to understand how the rest of business works. When, if it's not, people spend so much money in the business world trying to figure out how to keep their people happy. You know why? Because they're horrible fathers. Because they're horrible husbands. And so they don't function and flow in that way. Yeah. They don't work with their people. They push them hard. They're not out there with them. They're not leading.
I've been trying to grow trees on my property. I bought.
Did your willow trees work out?
Yeah.
They did. They did. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
The willow trees are the only thing that have grown magically.
Okay. Because you can just take a limb off a willow tree and stab it in the ground and water it.
And I have this I have this 2-season creek, I call it. It's just a drainage ditch basically, but spring and fall it's full of water, and so it works out. But everywhere else on my property, I'm trying to grow trees because I bought a field, where we built our house, and it turns out you're gonna be blown away by this.
Okay.
You have to water them. A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
New trees. Like kids.
It's amazing.
Trees.
Yeah. Trees. Huh. Yeah, they if you don't water them, they wilt.
There's a Bible verse about that.
I know, but I was like,
Psalm 1.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, I've had this apple tree. It's been really sad for 3 years.
Did you curse it like Jesus did?
No, I was. Yeah.
At this point, maybe I'm done with you.
And it's so happy this year. And you know what the difference is?
You.
Yeah, I've been watering it. Are you
Not the tree. It's you.
Yeah. He's like just happy. He's got all these green leaves. There's no apples on it yet. But I'm like, it's okay, man. I'm like, honestly, like, I did this.
Yeah.
Like, it was stunted.
Yes.
It wasn't growing. There was a bunch of dead branches on it. I had to lop off. But it's all of a sudden like happy.
Yeah.
Full of green leaves. And I got a maple out front. I've been like watering it way more than ever this year. And it's like just green and all these. It's like husbandry.
Yes.
Is a thing, and it's like you can't expect your kids or your wife, for that matter,
or your estate,
to be happy and fruitful if you're not watering them.
That's right.
And again, like what does that mean? What does that mean? You need to give them the nutrients. You need to give them the ability. And I would say a central piece of this is joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they gotta be filled with that stream of your love and your pleasure.
Yeah.
That you love them, that you're happy with them, that you love being around them, that you think they're cool people, you think they're fun, you think they're funny.
Yeah.
God the Father shows up in the Gospels, and whenever he shows up, he just says one thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is my son, in whom I am well pleased. Mm-hmm. If the perfect person, the perfect
son,
personality in all of the universe, like if the one thing he wants to express is love you, you're the best, you're my favorite. How much more so in a world full of sin and brokenness and failure and rebellion?
That's right.
So like water, and just like watering, like sometimes like I'm also trying to keep some grass alive. All the grass. If you don't have sprinklers, the grass just goes brown.
And it's real, yeah.
But I like to have a little bit of green grass out on the field, on the yard especially for my nieces and nephews come over at Sabbath dinner, and I like them to have a little bit of comfortable grass to play in, and so I've got the sprinklers going on there. I'm trying, but it's like you all of a sudden start one section starts turning a little bit brown, and like you start watering, and you have to wait a little while.
Yeah. Because it's got to take. Yeah.
The grass is like, I don't know if you mean this or not. Like, like you didn't give me water for a few weeks. And it's so think the same way. Like, that attention, that love, that praise, you've got to do it consistently. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't been doing it consistently, then expect it to take a little bit of time before you start seeing those green buds start appearing. It's like you're gonna be pouring it on for weeks, for months. And you can't just expect it to bounce back if you've been kind of holding it back. If you've been critical, I killed one of my trees, killed one of them, and I realized you
were so critical of that tree.
I was so critical of that tree. We have a backwash on our water softener, and I dumped it. And I had it running right into the roots of the tree. I was thinking I was watering that tree.
Oh.
Yeah.
And turns out salt water is not good for trees.
No, it's not.
Great for fish.
And I killed it.
Yep.
I killed it. And but it's like, but that's a lot of parents can use salt water.
Yeah.
You just pour salt water. Yeah. Like, what? I gave you water.
Yeah.
I gave you water. No, that's salt water.
Yeah.
That's not joy. That's not gladness.
That's
you're not building a relationship, and it's sometimes it's hard to change that. Mm-hmm. You get into ruts of being critical and being harsh, and that's what I go back to. And you need to repent. And sometimes the most important thing is that you need to repent. The parent needs to repent and say, I have not created a culture of joy and gladness and acceptance. Please forgive me first.
Yeah,
and because God says, like, before you take that speck out of their eye, like, who knows better? You know better.
Yeah.
Who's been on this planet longer? You've been on this planet longer. Who has more light? You have more light. You know better. And they said, but he's just so disrespectful. Who taught him that?
Yeah.
Who had the bad attitude first? Frequently, it's the parents.
Well, and with your metaphor about watering the tree, eventually you stop watering the tree. Because you've done well, you've watered it, and it's growing, and now it's strong enough to grow itself and to maintain its own water.
Yeah,
and that's what you want with your kids. It's the long direction.
Your kids are growing up into mature trees,
and you got to water them heavy.
Yeah, right. That's right. But you can't demand fruit from them when you're not pouring on the love.
That's right. That is
one of the analogies that Pastor Wilson likes to use. This applies to all relationships of trust. Is that at various points in relationships of trust, you have frequently a leader has to make a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
I
love when he talks about this.
Whether it's your wife or whether it's your kids, or it can be in your business, or it can be in some other relationship, a pastor with a parishioner or whatever. And when you make that big ask, you're going to ask them to do something that is very, very difficult for them to do. What you're doing is you're writing a check.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of leaders in the world who have not been putting a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah.
And what they do is they say, look, this is what you need to do. I'm the leader. I'm writing the check.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's not enough money in the bank
Yeah.
to cover the check.
Yeah.
And so your check bounces.
Yeah.
And you're shocked. You're like, but my name's on the check.
Yeah.
Right, but there's no money in the bank.
Right.
And the money in the bank in this situation is love.
Yeah.
It's delight.
Yeah.
It's pleasure.
Joy.
You should I just mentioned this really practically. Like all my kids, I take them out
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
regularly, and I think there's different kinds of dates at different times in their life, but they need one-on-one time with dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when it's little, maybe it's just you hold them and you're toddling around the yard with them and you're chit chatting with them,
ice cream or
yeah,
something.
whatever, and read a book with them or whatever. But it's like taking them out gets more and more important as they get older. And I would say middle school especially. Take your kids out.
That's right.
Spend one-on-one time with them when there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
When there is no problem.
yeah, because it's like sometimes the only one-on-one time they have is when they're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're like, and I don't know why we have such a bad relationship.
Yeah.
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 Well, because every time you're talking, they're in trouble. So spend time with them with the goal of it's just hang out.
Yeah.
Let them chatter at you.
Yep.
Ask them questions.
That's right.
What are you reading? What do you like? What are your friends doing?
Yeah.
What's your favorite color? Just ask them a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you want to create a baseline of I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I love being with you. And then what'll happen is if you do that semi-regularly, then it can happen spontaneously.
That's right.
In the car, it happens in the living room, it happens in the hallway. There's a little joke of what happened with that waitress one time, and then you can mention it in the hallway, and there's an inside joke with you.
Yeah.
And so you've got this banter going that then builds, and then that's the context in which you can correct them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can I talk to you about something? You've been talking about a lot of things. And it's fun. They know you love them. You've got money in the bank, and you say, I'm not sure that skirt is the right thing to wear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that movie. I'm not sure about that show. I don't know about that friend. But they know it's coming from a place of you love them, you delight in them. You can write the check.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can write the check.
right.
But that's there's going to be hard things. But if you're not putting money in the bank, spending time loving them, assuring them, I am for you, I am cheering you on, and they know that in their bones, then you won't have money in the bank. You write the check, and it's going to bounce, and it's going to be a mess.
That's good.
All right. Shall I read this ad?
Yes.
All this is why you need to come to our Fight, Laugh, Feast conference.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
We believe. I'm just gonna talk. I'm just gonna talk. I think I don't know if people understand just how important this topic is. We believe that God in His kindness has given us an opening here in the Trump administration, in this vibe shift, whatever you want to call it.
And just today, he fired half the Department of Education staff.
Yeah.
Well, praise God.
And
Won't he do it?
And I heard like isn't like the public broadcasting system also
NPR's done.
NPR's
Glory.
gone.
They had all these other sponsors that apparently were not good enough.
Yeah, right.
More than
them
one
up.
way to skin a
We
cat.
hope some of those sponsors maybe come our way a little bit.
But here's the thing.
Do we?
Here's the
maybe
thing.
not.
The liberal left is determined to have your kids.
And they will spend millions and political money and force the politics of it.
What's the Department of Education? What's NPR?
Yep.
What's Sesame Street? What's all these things?
Right.
These have been woke and secular and liberal ideologies seeking to get your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they want your kids is, number one, because they're not having any.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, because they know that this is where the battle rages. This is where the battle is. It is over the hearts and minds of our kids. Mm-hmm. And so this is if we want to rebuild Christendom, if we want to see a Christendom 2.0, if we want to see America reclaimed by the gospel. It's going to happen because generations of parents said, not with my kids, you don't.
That's right.
And they said, no, my kids, they are the inheritance of the Lord. They are the resources that God has given us to win. Mm-hmm. And that means, yes, they need to be doctors, they need to be pastors, they need to be politicians, they need to be businessmen, they need to be CEOs, they need to be moms and wives, teachers. But if we don't have their hearts, we can't win.
That's right.
And so that's why we're doing School Wars, Nashville, Tennessee, October 16th through the 18th. You know Pastor Doug's going to be there. Ben Merkel, David Bonson. I'll be giving a talk. Larry Taunton is giving a talk. David Goodwin, the president of ACCS, is giving a talk. David Erb, music meister at NSA, New St. Andrews College, is going to give a talk. Who else? Virgil Walker's giving a talk on the
history of
education. We're hoping that Knox is going to give a talk on AI.
Maybe.
Somewhere in there. We're going to squeeze it in there.
I'm just going to hang out with people and smoke cigars.
Yeah. and of course, there'll be a live show with George Grant and Doug Wilson on the potency of education, something connected to that. School Wars. You need to go to fightlaughfeast.com. You need to register today. Register your mom, your dad, your neighbors.
Yeah, find somebody who needs to be there if you can't come.
Register them all. Okay, I got one more ad to read.
Okay.
Business owners, is your company struggling to grow? What if I told you that the right employee could grow your business by 5, 10, or even 25%? You'd be crazy not to take that deal, right? That's exactly what Red Balloon Recruiter offers. Our personalized source and screen process connects you with top talent, increasing revenue and reducing costs. Visit redballoon.work. Again, that's redballoon.work today. Transform your hiring.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next time, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.